So, question for you. What do you think Donald Trump's biggest flaw is? And what do you think Donald Trump's biggest mistake is? That's the subject of today's video. And in fact, Trump reveals his opinion on his biggest mistake. Check this out. Trump has repeatedly told donors that his hiring was the biggest mistake of his first presidency, even though he personally made many of the hiring decisions himself. So basically, he's got no one else to blame. He was the one hiring, and he also says that is his biggest mistake. It's fascinating because Trump often talks about, he hires the best people, etc. And he's actually complaining about his own hiring decisions. That was the first time around. So the second time around, and this is the subject of the articles, is that he's all about loyalty. And I've told you guys about this stuff before. Basically, Trump is a mobster, gangster type of person. And basically, if you're that sort of bloke, you need people who are loyal to you. But the problem is that the people you attract are also very greedy and self-serving. So it's really hard for a criminal organization or a criminal culture to survive, because there's always someone gunning for the top, right? You need someone to kiss the ring, but also be greedy. How do you make that work? It doesn't work. That's why we see a lot of dysfunction. So what he's trying to do now is do loyalty tests when he brings people in. You can see here, Trump's loyalty test presses job seekers on ties to disfavored Republicans. That is the Wall Street Journal, and then also the Washington Post report a similar story. U.S. intelligence law enforcement candidates face Trump loyalty test. We've actually heard about these loyalty tests before. They were reported kind of going into the election and also part of the transition team. Trump hates disloyal people because there were so many leaks that first time around, and essentially, people would question his authority, and he really doesn't like it. These are the questions that you get if you apply for a job to work with the Trump team, if you're curious. So you have to answer yes or no, and they would ask people who are applying for intel jobs for this. Was January 6th an inside job? Yes or no? That's a Trump loyalty test. And was the 2020 presidential election stolen? Again, yes or no? It's a Trump loyalty test. And also you got this. They would ask you, who were the, quote, real patriots on January 6th? And again, they're looking for people who answer correctly for Trump. Who won the 2020 election? There's another question on there. And who is your, quote, real boss? All these are problematic, of course. I thought the last one was an interesting one. Effectively, right, as you know, for any of these jobs, the correct answer should be, I serve the people, I defend the Constitution, right, something like that. What Trump's looking for, though, is like, Trump is your real boss. You got to be loyal to Trump. Trump over anything else, Trump over party, Trump over Constitution, Trump over people. he's a mobster. And it's I mean, I'm laughing at this stuff. You have to admit, if this wasn't so horrifyingly dangerous, it is pretty funny if this were a movie. But unfortunately, it's not a movie. It just feels like a movie, that the president has these kind of things, and you guys know he's running around all the time spreading lies or whatever. But this is sort of the inside look of how his people function / dysfunction. This is also kind of an interesting one. They asked, what part of the President Trump's campaign message is most appealing to you and why? So there's that. I'm just laughing. Another thing is and something that anyone who's ever, served in the government and these kind of things, you just want competent people. Like, politics actually shouldn't really play a role at all. Carrying out, your role in your job, say, for example, let's say you work for the IRS, which is a good example. You may audit people on the Republican side. You may audit people on the Democrat side, right? You're just looking for people who are not doing their taxes correctly. Or if you're the SEC, it's the same thing. You may audit or go after companies regardless of political affiliation. That's just sort of how things should work. And I know I understand if you're on the Trump side, you think, oh, it's all Democrats trying to attack me all the time. But I mean, dude, if you're a criminal, the law enforcement is going to come after you. And so that's why, this time around, he needs people that, since he's a criminal, to not come after him or after his companies or his people, et cetera. And the other problem is, as I mentioned before, Trump's, he's a gangster and he attracts those kind of people. So how can this sort of organization / team be sustainable when you have all these greedy people all together. That's why you have a circus, essentially, is what it is. On top of that, it's actually quite interesting reading more about this. It says, since Trump's victory in November, Trump's team has rejected hundreds of applicants that it felt won't be loyal enough to Trump, according to people familiar with the matter. The hiring scrutiny has applied to a range of jobs across agencies and seniority levels. And they ask you like all kinds of questions, should we be in NATO or not? And, what do you think about Trump's foreign policy? And should we, kick out all the dark people, that kind of stuff. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. But again, that's who Trump hires and stuff like that. I know I point out this movie quite a bit. I'll just mention it again. If you haven't seen 12/12 Today, please do. This was the #1 box office hit in Korea. It's a fantastic movie, and basically it just shows how a coup works, how people like Trump think, essentially. And this is a historically based movie. And then 1987 is the follow-up, and how you resist people like Trump. So just check out both movies if you can, because it'll make more sense of why I always refer to Trump as a gangster. And they had the kind of situation in Korea. Basically, gangsters were ruling the roost and how they get power. On top of that, not everyone is a gangster in the USA, thank God. There are people who are fighting back. At the moment, there are a couple lawsuits going on, and I should say more than a couple. There's several lawsuits going on. One thing going right now is that Musk and that Doge stuff. I guess they're being blocked by a judge. It says federal judge blocks Elon Musk's Doge from the Treasury system. I think they even ordered them to delete any sort of data that they've acquired. They're also, too, since all the names of the Doge people are out, I think a lot of federal employees are, pushing back, et cetera, which you'll read all sorts of instances of that. And we'll see what they end up doing. Because I think one thing that Musk and their team were doing is essentially trying to move as quickly as they can and get as much data as they could before people figure out, hey, you shouldn't be doing this stuff. It's illegal. And that's sort of why they did that Saturday night stuff. We're on a weekend right now, and I haven't seen any news of them trying to break into any buildings or anything like that, but thank God, right? But you never know. I mean, maybe they're doing it covertly. We don't know. Evidently, they're going to try to go after more Treasury stuff. And guys, I know this stuff, frankly, is horrifying. It's not funny at all. I just, I don't necessarily want to be a downer all the time. I just tell you what's going on. Yeah, that's why I said, don't think if I'm, making jokes of it that I think it's funny. It's actually not funny at all. It's just like so ridiculous that I just feel like, oh my God, yeah. Anyway, just want to make that clear. So it says here, a federal judge in New York temporarily restricted the ability of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to access the Treasury Department payment system, saying the doing was necessary to prevent the potential disclosure of sensitive and confidential information. Also says the early Saturday order, so this was on a weekend where they're ordering this, the judge, Engelmeyer, so I guess that's a Obama appointee, precludes officials without, so basically we're looking at the people that Musk had hired, people without proper background checks and security clearances from accessing the payment system through at least next Friday, so I guess like a week, including political appointments and special government appointees, and they had to put it in that way. Because I think Musk's title, he's like a special government employee, and his actual job title is actually called enlisted, I believe. It also orders any prohibited person who had access to records since Trump's inauguration to destroy them. The judge set a hearing for Friday. This kind of stuff, when judges put down these orders and you got to follow it. Sometimes, like, say maybe someone didn't destroy stuff that they had, that could get you in trouble. Any number of things can get you in trouble. That's why I read through the whole thing in particular. There's also, this New York leads a multi-state lawsuit to block Doge from accessing Americans' personal data. So that's Latita James, I think her name is. So it's 19 states are suing against Doge. She had an interesting statement here. It says, as the richest man in the world, Elon Musk is not used to being told no. But in our country, no one is above the law. To give away Americans' private information to anyone he chooses. So Trump does not have the authority to just give all their stuff away. Let's hope so. One of the things that I've been thinking about with this whole Musk and Treasury thing is like kind of the more it gets out there, the bigger issue it's going to be, and more people are going to be pissed, and rightfully so. And so like already there were protesters, I think these are government employees outside the agency protesting Musk essentially. I mean, you would think that Musk is probably the most hated person in America. It's actually kind of a tight one, right? Who would it be? And I'd love to hear in the comments: is Trump more hated or is Musk more hated? I'm going with Musk here, but it's a close one, right? But here's some of the signs: Musk and Doge out of the CFPB, so that's the consumer. I think it's the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, but that's what it is. No to corporate greed on behalf of the American consumer. And one of the things I want to point out with this kind of stuff, guys, when you talk about government agencies, something like, say, the consumer protection, these things are formed after the great financial crisis. And so, like, if a bank's cheating you on your mortgage, or people are doing predatory practices, businesses are, you want to have some sort of authorities to go to when someone's cheating you. And oftentimes, the government workers, civil servants, they're your neighbors, they're your family members, these kind of things. And so this idea, I don't know, Musk hating on these kind of people, it's always so strange to me, and really out of touch of how regular people's experiences. And oftentimes these kind of people should be supported more, not less. Again, they're there to protect you. But I understand the Musk and the Trumps, their point of view is they want to cheat consumers, and they get really upset when the government comes after them. Already, Trump is looking for revenge, and he always is attacking his political foes. So I guess he was revoking a security clearance, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. I think there was a couple other people involved with this. There's a long list. It just says more. I read through it. I would say there's more than that. And I remember he removed security details from various people that he didn't like. He's also firing someone over at because of the chief here, it says, at the National Archives. Remember, he had an issue with the classified documents, etc. When he took him down to Florida. I'm sure you guys know that. And on top of that, this was an interesting interview where USAID workers, as here it says, this feel like they're in an atmosphere of fear. I listened to a little bit of the interview, and but one thing I thought was impressive about the employee, they had to speak on anonymity, so they're saying they're worried about their personal safety, but was that they believe in the work that they do. So some things they may do, just giving food to people who need food in impoverished countries, or helping out with diseases or whatever ailments abroad, these kind of things. And part of what the USAID things, someone asked me recently, and I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. You'll hear all kinds of stuff about this organization from Musk, and the problem is that Musk is frankly a liar. So don't necessarily believe anything that he says about anything. And that's the truth of that stuff. And the other thing I want to mention with either anything with USAID or anything with the government budget, be it Pentagon, Department of Defense, or Intel organizations, there may be things in the accounting that, I'll just say this, would be better to talk about behind closed doors. I'm fine with addressing any sort of budgetary issues, but there could be any number of things that we don't necessarily want to reveal publicly, so that our adversaries would know exactly how much we're spending on each country, and doing exactly what, or revealing who our sources are, who are the people around the world who are also risking their lives for the service of national security. There's a lot of things like this that are out there. And I'll also say this, for the people who really know what's going on, they have to stay silent, and it's very, very frustrating for them. Especially, let's say, if Musk, for example, let's say Musk tells some sort of lie about whatever budgetary thing, right? And someone actually does know the actual truth, but by revealing the truth would put a lot of people's lives in danger. So that's the kind of stuff where it's really, really frustrating for people who are on the inside and know what's going on. And I'll just say this, whatever Musk says, it's a lie. And often the Washington Post did a report recently that said something like 11 out of 12 things that Musk was saying about anything, it was like misleading. So there's always stuff with Musk. I just wanted to bring that up because people ask, and I say it before, I'll say it again. And if I want to, do my channel and just do every day, let's just break down Musk lies, I don't know. I mean, I can do that, and I'm sure the channels do that. And if they do, you can go find them. There's that. I focus on other things because I don't want to talk about what Musk said all day, every day. But this is kind of interesting, though. Wired has been doing some really great reporting on the whole Doge thing. So basically, we know how they recruited their people, which is fascinating. So I guess they were like putting out feelers on like Discord and various forums and stuff like that. For example, it has it written here. It says on November 26, 2024, because they can see all these messages and stuff. In a message reviewed by Wired, a person using the screen named Anthony and same handle that Jenko uses on X account, they put this thing on a Discord server that they were doing some sort of 8-week combination AI crash course and problem-solving hackathon that engaged 350 plus applicants. And then I guess it also said, help the Department of Government Efficiency team find hardcore engineers, send your GitHub LinkedIn to @Doge on X and DM if interested. And they were going looking for interns basically at like SpaceX, Palantir, like sort of these Peter Thiel kind of connected, Elon Musk connected stuff. And so that was kind of interesting. It seemed like they were really looking for young people to work like 6 months or something like that. And I bring that up because when you see this kind of crap on social media, and this is Farzad, if you don't know, he's one of the paid stock promoters for Elon Musk. He gets paid through Twitter, and Elon Musk also gives them engagement to send views over to him on YouTube. But he kind of represents the quintessential Musk follower and who promotes the kind of Musk stuff on social media. So Farzad, he says here, officially make 2025 the year of big balls. And basically, they make joke of this. So that's the handle or username of the youngest member of the Doge thing. And basically, he is like a hacker type dude, had connections in Russia, etc. And also was leaking, or you could say espionage, that's a good word, from the security company that he was working at to, I guess, another company. But that was his username. And so then they don't deny this stuff. Like the Musk people don't deny that this guy, you know, who has handled things, etc. They just try to make joke of it. But it's frankly not that funny when you got people who are working with highly sensitive materials and they have a history of being unreliable, dubious, however you want to say, dangerous. And I want to address this stuff because this is the kind of idiotic stuff that you'll see from the Musk people. This is Farzad again. He says, speaking my truth, I find it quite ageist and offensive when Democrats criticize the abilities of 19, 20, and 20-year-olds in Doge. Oh, how the turntables. And basically he's trying to say, like, if all you people out there who are hating on Doge and Elon Musk interns, you're just ageist. And the problem is, guys, okay, so theoretically you could have geniuses at this age, let's say theoretically. But the people that Musk hired ain't it. They're not it, right? And that's something that people try to do all the time is they'll make these arguments that are, I mean, a little bit plausible, but it's just the guys that Musk hired aren't it. They aren't the geniuses of the world. And plus, they you know, as we just saw, I guess they're getting hired through Discord servers or whatever. As far as that guy, I had an argument with Rowan Patel. Patel used to work over at Tesla. I think he was like the government affairs guy. And it says here, it's kind of funny, their argument. Rowan says, Doge is not giving government experts a first chance, but is totally fine giving their staff a second chance, meaning that, you know, Doge is coming in to fire a bunch of people and ignoring people with expertise. I'm all for second chances, but maybe hit the pause and give CDC and USAID, EPA, and USDA, and NIH staff a first chance, right? I think it's a reasonable. And then Farzad's like, they had decades of chances. F that. Bye-bye. So that's the mentality of these people who follow Musk. I mean, I'm showing you what they say. Here's Rowan again. You know a lot of CDC and or NIH or USD experts, right? Do you know any of these people, Farzad? I trust you on Tesla, which that's even questionable. Farzad makes a bunch of crap up about Tesla. He's a child, basically. Because you've been in the middle of it, I don't think you really know how about the world-class experts we have at NOAA or NASA. It's like the weather people or the space people, right? They want to make government more efficient. It's worth asking them. And then Farzad says, they've failed, obviously, bye. And Farzad repeats, let me be clear. The U.S. taxpayer has trusted government bodies to deploy our hard-earned dollars wisely. It's beyond obvious the entire system was used to plunder pockets of taxpayers. There's been zero compassion for taxpayers. I have zero compassion for anyone working in government. So that's Farzad. That's how these people talk, and I just want you to kind of see. And he's a weird guy. It's the same kind of people that are attracted to Trump, same kind of people that are attracted to Musk. There's a greedy individuals, and Farzad was making videos saying that Tesla's going to go to $48,000 per share.
Those subdivisions, I'm predicting that Tesla stock price in about 15 years will be somewhere around $48,893, which from today's date is roughly 47x where we are today, which is a lot, which is a lot.
I'll play the video every now and then. Basically, the guy's an idiot as far as I. but unfortunately, it may not just be just idiot. It could also be disingenuous and a liar. Pretty much a lot of stuff that Musk has been saying these days. Various people, and there's several articles come out there saying no, what Musk is saying a lie, etc. And then there's that. On top of that, Musk, I guess he's not going to buy TikTok, which I think is kind of interesting. We'll see if that ends up being true. I thought he would be the front runner for that. But remember, they got to use these tariff money, your tax dollars effectively, to buy TikTok and other things. That's going to go into their sovereign wealth fund. The stuff that Musk is really interested in, which is kind of funny. If you want to listen to Musk talk, you can. I'll just tell you basically what it is. He's talking about like how people tell him all the time about shady tax things. And according to Musk, he doesn't take them, which is not necessarily true. So this is actually the quote here. It says,
form of the tax code, it would make sense because it's extremely complicated and there are too many loopholes. I'm often pitched on these loopholes. That's how I know they exist. And I'm like, that sounds pretty shady. I don't think we should do that. They're like, well, lots of other people are getting away with it. We're like, yeah, but I still don't think we should do it.
And then Musk says, supposedly, yeah, but I don't think we should do it. But that's not exactly true, because Musk has all sorts of things that he does that is pretty shady. Like, for example, his Musk Foundation. This is the actual website. I always have to show it because some people actually believe this is the website. That's what it looks like. It's not even like there are any graphics on there. It's just text. You can look it up. It's called Musk Foundation. And they're always found to be out of compliance of what they should be doing. And there's always questionable ways that Musk does stuff. So, for example, and a lot of the billionaire class does. He doesn't take a salary from Tesla, right? So he doesn't have to pay tax on his kind of salary, but he takes a bunch of stock options, stock, etc. And then he borrows money, gets lines of credit on said stock, and he can avoid any kind of taxes that way, right? Because you're not taking a salary. And so this is one way. And there's lots of things Musk could be doing, but that you can manipulate the system. And also Musk too is always talking about getting rid of regulations. And so he repeats the same stuff over and over again if you want to read this whole thing. But it's all about getting rid of regulations and simplifying stuff to benefit him. On top of that, the dude takes a ton of money from the government. I mean, you can see this. So I guess SpaceX has 15.4 billion in contracts. They're saying Tesla has 352,000 in contracts, but this is just contracts because Tesla gets a lot of benefit from the EV tax credits and also to the carbon credits that they sell. So that's not reflected on this chart. And then these are all of the agencies that would govern over Tesla, right? And it's a whole bunch, be it the Labor Board, Justice Department, SEC, be it environmental stuff, right? All kinds of stuff. I'm just showing you guys like how many conflict of interest that Musk has. And so you put all this stuff together, and I don't know if I would necessarily, because Trump's definitely a gangster. I don't know if like say early on, Musk was like a gangster type person. I would say now probably, he's closer to that thing because a lot of people have been leaving him. And so, the way that you need to hire people now for these Musk and Trumps is you need people that don't leak stuff and stuff like that, because there's so many shady things going on. So it's actually really quite interesting how a lot of his Doge people have like turned off their social medias, etc. But that's what's going on. So for them, it's about loyalty. And you're going to see this stuff. I don't cover it that much. I'll just show you what it is. Most channels and news outlets out there will frankly talk about, the dumb stuff going on. So I try to show you kind of behind the scenes more. So for example, this is Fox News. They'll say, Elon Musk slams mean podcast host for calling Doge employee arrogant little, I guess that would be not nice word, among other things. Or, David Schwimmer is saying, hey, Elon, take Kanye off the X. He's saying too many hateful things. That's the stuff that most people talk about. I try to talk about pretty much everything else but this. I mention it because if you ever wonder sort of why things sound differently over here, it's because I focus on things that I, in my opinion, matter. And at this point, I think the most fascinating thing about Trump is this loyalty test stuff. And he even admits that he's not good at hiring people. But that's kind of an interesting question because from the point of view of hiring someone that's actually going to be good, you would want people, say in Intel or whatever, to tell you the truth, not necessarily tell you things that you want to hear, right? So, whatever thing that Trump does, let's say, for example, it's clearly illegal. And if his people are like, hey, Mr. Trump, you shouldn't do that, it's illegal, Trump will get really, really mad. Like that's the kind of world that we're in. And that's why you're seeing so much chaos. And so then you end up hiring the most, again, incompetent and greedy people around you. And that's why you see the dysfunction that you see. Anyway, just wanted to share my thoughts on that one and catch you all in the next video.